Hello and welcome to another episode of the FPL Hangover podcast where we raise the bar in order to own all things FPL related. We are coming to you on the 6th of February. It is the very first St. Bridget's bank holiday Monday in sunny old Ireland, and what better way to spend it than sitting here and talking all things double game week 22 with my podcast partner in crime, Paddy. How are you getting on, my friend?
I'm getting on great, Ger, and it is brilliant to be back on the airwaves with yourself and the millions and millions of listeners and viewers on YouTube. Before we go any further, I want to say big up, respect, Boakisha to St. Bridget herself for giving us giving us this day off. I've made about 20 St. Bridget's crosses in her honour.
Rightly so, rightly so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said it there, it's great to be back. And if it wasn't for this bank holiday, God knows when we would have got behind the mic again. We've suffered some professional switcheroos, which means recording has become slightly problematic in the last few weeks. So if you've missed us, apologies for that. We're trying to work out the best way to get these done on a weekly basis, but we're not fucking going anywhere for the time being, and we'll get one out as soon as we can every week. And I mean, with that in mind, it's not like we've been shying away, Paddy, because FPL's going okay.
FPL is going great, and again, apologise to the faithful listeners. We are going to get this sorted. We are going to be more consistent on a weekly basis. It's just sometimes, that thing called life. It just gets in the fucking way. But we're back now, and we're raring to go, aren't we?
Yeah, and it is what it is. I
Yeah.
mean,
Up the bum.
but we both launched our triple captainships this week. You had no better excuse. You were on the way over to Old Trafford, and it made sense to stick it on your boy Rashford. But you must have been delighted with how things have gone so far.
It was brilliant. Of course, being over there watching the lads live in the Theatre of Dreams, along with my own son, which was a special moment watching him walk up those steps and look out at the beauty of the Theatre of Dreams. And the both of us with the triple captain on Rashford because he plays himself as well. And just magic moment, and for him as well to see two of his probably favorite players get on the scoreboard. And I guess you have Bruno as well in your team, did you?
I did, yeah. I've had Bruno
Yeah.
since we came back from the World Cup.
Yeah, so we got to see a Rashford goal and assist and a Bruno goal, and of course everyone probably had Luke Shaw as well, an assist there as well.
Yeah, it was everything was going gravy for United until Casemiro's red.
Oh
Uh,
my God, yeah. I mean, watching it, I could just feel a bad chill come over my body. I just knew something wasn't right when it happened. And Palace were like sharks to blood. They sensed it. It was an exciting game. The longest 7 minutes of extra time ever experienced in my life. I kept looking over at the clock in Old Trafford, and I kept saying to Bobby, my son, I kept saying, "Oh my God, it's still on 90." But then I realized the clock
it
doesn't
doesn't
change.
change. Yeah.
It doesn't change. So still 6 minutes extra time. My God, still 90.
Paddy's lost all sense of time and space in the last 5 minutes.
I also brought in Weghorst for that game as well. As to have a bit of fun there, and God, he looked bewildered and lost in that team. We badly need to buy a striker. But look, who knows? He might come good in the Leeds game.
100%. I think he's got like he's that lovely punt that if he doesn't do anything, you kind of go, "Yep, didn't think so." But if he even just gets an assist against Leeds midweek, you're going to be, yelling at the rooftops.
Shag me, Weghorst.
shag me. Yeah, exactly. How did that come across kind of live? The whole like you didn't have Bruno. Did that matter? Does that play into your thinking at all? Like when he scored that penalty, were you thinking, "Nah, I don't care"?
Um, no, because I was there,
Yeah.
and fantasy football took a back seat to being there. There was too much other things going on, just being there with my son and stuff. But in saying that, on the taxi home, I was thinking, bastards have Bruno, and I didn't have him. But I wouldn't have been able to get to Bruno without a -4. I remember,
Yeah.
tinkering about, and it probably would have been worth it. But look, a lot of people now are selling Bruno for Mahrez, or they're switching him in and out. I'm actually in a good place now. I know my plans for GameWeek 23. We'll speak about that later. But how did you like just going straight into our points? Like, what are your points at the minute, Jer? And what have you got left to play? And tell us, have you got a big what's your green arrow, or where are you now in the world? Let's
Yeah.
take it from there.
Yeah, all things are going well. I mean, like as you said, I had Bruno, and you did. It's a good point what you mentioned in regards to a lot of people taking hits. Like the most common transfer I saw throughout the Twitter sphere and in group chats was Kane to Nketiah, and then the likes of an Almiron to a Bruno. And Kane got his 8 points. So if you did take a hit, or if you did get rid of Kane, that's going to minimize the Bruno move, which is something you didn't do. So like you can look at it that way, unless Bruno
I,
goes mad against Leeds during the week.
yes, and that's actually a move I would have had to have done. I would have had to have removed Kane for a -4 probably to get Bruno in. So I didn't do that, and I kept Kane, and I was rewarded with me 8 points. So I guess the Bruno didn't really hit me too hard.
Yeah. No. I mean, not yet. As I said, it kind of depends on that second match and
Yes, yeah.
if he goes buck ape. But all in all, I was actually had a chocolate this morning with herself. 73 points I'm sitting on with a triple captain. Rashford still to play, and Bruno and Shaw. I also have a cheeky little Nanto punt for Leeds, which as a United fan I'm hoping he gets nothing. But like if United were to win 4-1 and he gets a cheeky goal, I think I could make do with that. But that was all I got this week in terms of attacking returns. No, I tell a lie. I had Kepa's 10-pointer for Chelsea in sitting at the back, but outside of Kepa's 10 points, it was essentially Shaw's 5, Rashford's 36, and Fernandez 10. The rest all blanket for me. But I'll take it. Green Arrow, 112k as it stands, and yeah, I'm pretty set for the rest of the week. No minus points this week for me as well. That kind of stands to you a little bit at times, and yeah, I can't complain. What about yourself, Penny?
Yeah, I'm on 70 points, Jer. I'm really happy because I was just ticking along, but I got a couple of red arrows last couple of weeks since the World Cup, and I dropped down to around 800k in the world, which was like I was just like, oh, I don't want to be in that mill. But now I'm up to 600 with still 3 players to play, so I'm in a good place. So anyway, Kepa got everything started the week off wonderfully, a 10-pointer. Was delighted with that. Shaw 5 points in another game. Trippier 2 and White 2 points. Couldn't believe as well that West Ham and Newcastle was a draw. That was great results for us United fans, along with Arsenal getting beat and City getting. Was it a draw, City?
No, City lost 1-0 to Spurs.
Oh my God, City lost 1-0. That's right. And then Liverpool, of course, getting beat 3-0. But anyway, back to fantasy football. Almiron 2 points. Rashford 36, triple captain. Martinelli, another man who's been sold a lot if you're looking at the Twitter sphere. De Bruyne 1-pointer as well. It's kind of a shock that he didn't start. Kane 8 points. Hero. Haaland 2 points. And Weghorst 1 point. Captain, a lot of people that would have kept the faith with Haaland would have been punished as well. Like, I don't know what your thoughts are, but the last pod we did, we preached, I think, that as much as we could without actually telling people what to do, that Rashford captain or triple captain was the move.
Yeah, we were pretty sold on the idea of like that double game week just being. It just reminded me of Salah's one last year in regards to like what was it, Norwich and Leeds as well, or it was just too ridiculously plumb. Home,
it's too juicy.
Yeah, too juicy. I like my steaks juicy, just like I like my women. And yeah, no, I wasn't going to avoid this. And as a United fan, I don't remember the last time I fancied a United player for a triple captainship. So I was happy to take advantage of that. You mentioned De Bruyne. Like we'll be looking at game week 23 and all the implications, but he is currently being berated online.
Oh, he's finished.
He's finished. Yeah, game over. Worst decision Pep ever made was to play him.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's one to keep an eye on. The Martinelli one's another interesting sub. A lot of people talking after that Trossard transfer late in the January window. Is this going to affect his minutes? I still think he's a starter, but what was it, 58 this week? I mean, you got unlucky twice. I think you got Martinelli was 58-minute sub and Weghorst was a 58-minute sub. So
yeah,
what's that? That's costing you I think it would have been. I can't remember if Martinelli came off before Arsenal conceded, but it's costing you at least a point. Same with Weghorst. They add up. But
They do indeed.
But Martinelli wise, I'm happy like with the double game week and stuff. Like it's just not a concern for me.
It doesn't feel like a fire anyway. Coming up to double game week, he's got 2 fixtures. You're not going to be touching really any of those. And same with De Bruyne, really. If you have him, you're not going to get rid of him like that. And then, do you know what? It's kind of got the way everyone was getting rid of Kane last week.
Yeah.
The same thing could happen. You could get rid of Martinelli and De Bruyne, and they could just shaft you.
100%. I mean, like as I said, Martinelli's stats still aren't dropping. Like I didn't look at the stats post the Everton game, so to be fair, I could be out of date with that. But like up to and including that Everton match, it didn't look like all of a sudden he's dropped off a cliff in terms of form. It's like no, Arsenal are still tipping away. Yeah, he's got a bit of competition, but his shots in the box are still well up there, and he still looks lethal. Like for anyone that picked him up at 6 million, I don't see how all of a sudden he hasn't. He isn't justifying that price tag. I think it's just a case of shiny new toys. Odegaard coming good. Saka obviously has found his form, but Odegaard being so closely related in terms of price and value, I guess that's the easy switch. But for a double game week, there has to be more pressing concerns in your team than Martinelli. That's the way I'd be looking at it. And the KDB.
Yes, 100%. Everything you said there was just on the money. On the money, Ger.
Yeah. What about we'll look at a bit of the game week 22 matches. What about Harry Kane's record-breaking winner for them this week? Like you said yourself, he's not going anywhere for you, is he?
No, I was looking at his fixtures, and I think there's no way in hell that he leaves my team now, unless he gets injured or something like that. But no, Harry Kane, he's been ticking away all season. This is the first time I've had him in my team. Imagine, like I think was it last week? I just brought him in.
Brought him in last week.
Yeah, let me just double check there. Yeah.
While you're checking that, I'll just call out his upcoming fixtures.
And I have him for 3 weeks. Go on ahead.
Yeah. Well, his upcoming fixtures are Leicester away, West Ham at home, Chelsea away, Wolves away, or Chelsea at home, Wolves away, and Forest at home. So not a bad run. I mean, that Leicester match, like a lot of people that did get him out this week in favour of kind of a hokey cokey from, maybe getting an Nketiah and then turn someone into a Bruno. A lot of people that used Harry Kane's transfer value as a make weight, they'll be looking at that Leicester fixture and I would be nervous. I'd be going like, is this a fuck up? He's already got his 8 points.
There could be a bit of regret in that. I feel like it's a move. I've suffered from those kind of transfers before, and then when the game week comes upon you, it sneaks up and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that.
I mean, look, I think he's been so consistent this season that it's like I'm moving towards being able to get him back in. I think a 3-5-2 formation seems very like that's kind of what I settled on after the World Cup, and I might have upgraded a Leeds, I think it was Greenwood for Leeds, up to a Nanto for the extra few million, but that was just for the double game week, and I don't think it's a real formation changer. It's maybe 500,000 invested in my strikers than I need, but like it's fine by me, and I'll be looking to partner Haaland with Harry Kane kind of basically towards the end of the season. But we're getting into that double game week, black game week, what are we gonna do kind of stage.
It's chip strategy coming up soon. So how for the listeners now, and not to put you on the spot, but how many teams are actually doubling for game week 23?
For game week 23, it's just Man City and Arsenal.
So it's just Man City and Arsenal. So 5 would be nearly enough.
That's the big question, isn't it? Like for me, I'm sitting on 3 Arsenal, White, Martinelli, 2 Arsenal, but with a free transfer, and then 2 City, and I'm happy to go into that with 3 Arsenal, 2 City. Like Manchester City's performance against Spurs doesn't bode well in terms of like rotation. Like the defense is basically it's a rough one at the moment. Like Cancelo being gone, obviously that happened since we last potted. Cancelo's
That's right.
No longer an FPL option, but will be fondly remembered, I think, as a kind of elite pick there for a couple of seasons. But gone now off to Bayern Munich, and he's already chipping in with assists. But Yeah, no, essentially, like, where do you go for that third Man City spot? I mean, like, there's an argument to be made that KDB shouldn't even have the second spot. I still think,
Christ.
yeah, I still think that's a load of bollocks. I think he is clearly City's second best option in terms of, just in terms of involvement, when he's on the pitch. Like, when he came on yesterday, I saw a few people kind of saying, oh, he was shit against Spurs. And I'm like, he came on in a rough game to try and change it. Spurs were playing very well. And he still completely dominated set plays and whipping the ball into the box. So, I mean, on a different day, like, didn't he get an assist against Wolves and stuff like that? You know what I mean? Like, you're going, like, on a different day, he's getting some points there. I'm not in any doubt that he's City's second best option. But the real question is, who's the third? You know, like, Ederson, Mahrez.
Well, I mean, if you're chatting in the long run, it's Ederson. But if you're chatting about you want to get some points on the board and taking a wee gamble, it has to be Mahrez, doesn't it? Mahrez is I see him being spoken about a lot. I see him being spoken about a lot on Twitter at the moment, and he loves a double game week.
He does, and that's why he'll be rested this week.
Yeah, that's why Pep's going to rest him, because he knows.
Yeah, no, he does love a double game week, but he was hooked, I believe. Was it like 58 minutes, 59 minutes yesterday? So he did get subbed off. I don't know how much of that was like a tactical change, or how much that will kind of play into Pep's thoughts going forward. But for me, it wouldn't be worth a hit. I think that's the big question. Like, you have a lot of people that took hits in game week 22 or before game week 22 in order to fit in that extra United player, like more likely to be a Bruno. And then now you're faced with that question, like, do you hit again? Like, there would have been people there now, Paddy, that did no -4, but a hokey cokey KDB to Fernandes, and they're laughing. If KDB didn't start 1 pointer versus Fernandes 10, I believe, with a game in hand.
Yes.
They're laughing. But then next week, City have that double, and United have a lovely fixture against Leeds. I mean, I know it's away, but those Leeds matches are always kind of... United versus Leeds are always potential to be a high-scoring affair, regardless of whether it's at Old Trafford or Elland Road. But Elland Road? That is Leeds ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ground. For a second there, I was going, is that City's old ground name? I can't remember.
Throw away the shovel.
Throw away the shovel.
Ger, so tell me this. So right now, how many doublers do you have? Just
for next week, I have 4 with a transfer.
You're the same as myself then, and I'm not going to be taking. I would need to take a hit to get 6, and I'm not going to be doing that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Do you think there's any players that you would take a hit for? Not you particularly, but if someone else was sitting there with, we'll say 4, or we'll say they wanted to bring in 2 players from either Man City or Arsenal. Like, they, like, what's your top 3 City and Arsenal now?
Okay. Well, like, I can't include Haaland because everyone already has Haaland. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's included as 1, so we'll say 2 from City.
Right. I would want De Bruyne.
Mm-hmm.
And I would want Saka.
For Arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get you. They're the ones you were missing, and that would bring you up to. But you have De Bruyne.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the people, like what in general, like what are the top?
No, I mean, for me, like, if you would say right now, top 3 City assets for the double game.
The players I would love to have now going into this, I would love to have Mahrez, and I would love to have Odegaard and Saka.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
They're the 3 I would love to have, and I don't.
They're the top kind of transfer targets. No, I'm the same. I've no Odegaard, I've no Saka, and I've no third City. So for me, I also have no Nketiah, and he's an interesting one. I mean,
that's my move this week.
So you'll be moving Weghorst out for...
Yes, because I'm also, I've one eye on the blank. There's a blank coming up soon, isn't there?
There is, game week 25. Brentford, Brighton, Man United, Newcastle, all blanking.
Yeah, so I'm also thinking, Weghorst, I need to start, cutting down some of these players that are going to be blanking. So I'm going to get rid of Weghorst for Nketiah. That brings me up to 3 Arsenals for the double, and then I'll just be happy enough to have the 2 probably best City players for the double anyway, and that's Haaland and De Bruyne. You said it yourself, Ger, he's their number 2.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think the big question for me into the game week 23 it'll be Arsenal, and it's I have Ben White. A lot of people will be in this position. I have Ben White. I have Martinelli, and obviously I can turn the likes of a third striker or even a second striker if I wanted to into Nketiah, or I could look at upgrading the likes of an Andreas Pereira to a Saka or an Odegaard. Like I have the funds in the bank. I think a lot of people there's a lot of heavy banks floating around.
So that'll be a -4.
Well, no, I would make one option or the other. I would choose. If I did the two of them, but I have 2 Arsenal players, I only need to make one decision, And I mean, -4 wise, coming into a double game week, I'm never too worried about it. But
no, because everyone's making them, sure.
That's the thing, It's a little frustrating, actually. Do you find sometimes you are kind of prepped? Like we'll say Bruno. I've had him, as I mentioned, post World Cup, and he's been tipping away. I never really intended to hold on to him this long, but then the double game week came along, and he was there. And it was like, okay, he's a little bit of an advantage. And then come Saturday or come Friday evening, you're looking at everyone's teams, and they just all had Bruno all of a sudden. He went from 7% to, I don't know, 30% or something like that. Like he just became a pain in my ass if he got points, Do you think is there sometimes do people overthink kind of these strategies and long-term thinking when you could maybe just react a bit more,
Yeah, I think, well, yourself, there's always a bit of luck involved in these things. But I think overthinking is the number one casualty for dropping points in the fantasy football game. Like, to get rid of Kane, like a player that scores fucking goals, right, for a hit, and then bringing in someone else, I find that could be labeled as overthinking. Like, this week, I had 2 fires in my team. Cancelo and Martial, and I dealt with the fires that were in my team.
If you could go back, would you not do Martial to Weghorst, or the fact that he was sitting there, you're like, I had to do something?
No, I felt I had to get rid of Martial because he's just so inconsistent. I mean, why did I bring him in the first place? Who knows? I just thought, he's been rested over the World Cup, and he'll be raring to go. United are looking good, and then he gets injured, and he's back now, right enough, but
he was still missing from the Saturday match.
Yeah, he was still missing from the Saturday match, but yeah, no, I wanted to have a little bit of fun. I did. I thought, look, come here. I might say fun. I still believed Weghorst could have popped up, with an old goal. I thought it was a good transfer, a little low percentage one. Double game week.
When you're playing as the front man in an attacking team, there's always a chance. I know it sounds redundant and obvious, but sometimes that's what it is. It's just meat and potatoes. It's like he's up there, he's starting the match. All you need is Bruno to put a ball on a fucking plate for him, and he'll sticks it, and you're not thinking about it again.
Exactly. And sure, you know what? I'm not even done yet. If he scores against Leeds or an assist, I win.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll be happy.
You did also mention that you were happy Newcastle drew 1-1, and it is good for obviously United fans. But FPL in mind, not so good for me this week. I had the same fire as you in terms of Cancelo sitting there on my bench and needed to make weight. All of a sudden, Newcastle double defense. 7 clean sheets in a row?
That's right. Yeah.
It's money wise, it seemed to make sense. I could drop a 7 million defender down to 4.5, so I did that. Cancelo out, Botman in, played the 2 of them, and of course Newcastle concede. And now I'm thinking, did I make a mistake? Double clean sheet buster. I never like having double clean sheets, but in this case, I think because Trippier is so nailed on every week, it's more like I've no problem benching Botman. Botman will just be my backup, but
exactly.
I think I did fall victim to not looking ahead to the double or to the blank in 25. I mean, I did obviously know that Newcastle were blanking, but considering I had very little Newcastle players and no Brighton players, and United are going to be kind of being shipped out over the next few weeks, I didn't overthink it. I was like, yeah, Botman and Trippier can both be on my bench.
Exact same move as me. I got rid of Cancelo for Botman, freed up some nice money, but one of my 50-50 decisions this week was, do I play Botman and Trippier,
Hmm.
or do I bench Botman and play Almiron? And I just thought, oh, look, it was a 50-50. I benched Botman and played Almiron. No big difference really, because Almiron only got 2 points as well.
Yeah.
But and White got 2 points, my other defender. So that's Almiron now. Like my as I was saying, Nketiah, Weghorst is going for Nketiah. That's one of my moves. Probably then looking on. Almiron is probably on the way out. But the problem is, the player I want to really replace Almiron is Mitoma.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, that's
Yeah,
the I'm just a lot of people in the same position
but you
because,
can't go there yet because Brighton are blanking.
but can't
And
you? Like, that's the big argument at the moment. I mean, like, he got another double-digit haul last week, or this week, we'll say, just gone. Poxy, if you ask me, a
mhm.
header in the like 87th minute. But like, owners would have been laughing, and I'm happy to see a new option kind of emerge. But the big question then is, like, an away fixture to Crystal Palace and a home match against Fulham, are they worth avoiding just because of
The
the
blank.
potential blank? Yeah.
Yeah. You see, that's a very good question. But like, if I'm bringing like, no, I feel that I would love to have him, but I feel it's just I could be selling myself short by going for him now,
Yeah.
and then being short then on players for a game week. I mean, I already have like too many. I think if I brought him in, that gives me to get another 3 game weeks or 2 game weeks to fix it.
Well, as I'm saying, like, you're looking at your team there, you've already got 3 Newcastle and 3 Man United, so you'll need to ship off at least, and you've got a Patterson sitting there. So I mean, you've
Yeah,
essentially got 7 blanks in game week 25, and this is game week 23, 24. So you've 3 transfers then to kind of shift them, so you can get that down to 4 blanks. But you'll probably need to take a hit at one stage to
yeah.
get the full 11 out. And yeah, I think Mitoma, for anyone in a similar position, it's easy to have your head turned and kind of look at the man in form. But if you hadn't jumped on him 2 weeks ago, even last week, then yeah, it does become like a kind of, I think, a bit of gluttony in terms
Yeah,
of.
and another way to look at it is, Jer, I could bring him in now, right? And he could get maybe a goal one week and assist the next week.
Mm,
I may have to make a -8
exactly.
to fix my team, and then them points are just sure they're gone.
No, you're right. I mean, we can all just take solace in the fact that, not you
Uh,
can't have everyone. That's the way
No,
it goes. You can't have
I'm
everyone.
probably just going to I'm going to focus on getting a few players in that are decent and that play in the double game week or the blank game week, and also I have a Patterson fire I really want to fix as well. Maybe I can do that on down the line when I'm thinking about using more chips. But at the moment, I think I'm just going to work on the things that really need to be worked
Yeah.
on in the team. Do you have any plans now going forward, Jer? Like, what's your transfer? What's your thoughts this week? Are you cutting back for the blank? Will you be looking to get Matoma in?
Yeah, I mean, like, you're right in everything you said, and it brings a tear to my eye watching you become such a mature fantasy football manager, Paddy.
Thank you very much.
But the likes of, like, basically, I am looking ahead, and again, I think I'm kind of maybe overthinking a little bit of game week 25, but I will also be avoiding Mitoma for the same reasons you mentioned. I'm not in as serious a bother as you are in terms of, well, I wasn't. I mean, in terms of, I only have 2 Newcastle players and 3 United, so only 5 players, and my third bench, instead of the likes of a Patterson or a non-playing player, is Bueno, who I was very happy with in terms of minutes, but he was rested against Liverpool at the weekend, and that's kind of worried me. I'm not sure why, but after a 3-0 win against Liverpool, you know yourself, it would be hard for the manager to bring in too many changes. But I mean, like, he had been playing pretty much all the matches, at least post World Cup, even as far as I
Hmm.
think going back to game week 12, he was a nail starter. And now, as I said, suddenly dropped. They do have a lovely fixture in 25 that I was happy with. Not lovely, but like away to Fulham. I'm like, yeah, I could totally play Bueno on that. Now I'm going to be closely watching that to see whether or not that's going to bone me in 25. But as I said, don't have 3 Newcastle, so I don't have to worry about that. I have no Brighton, and I've and I'll be working my way off of City or off of United. But the big question then is, when do you start jumping off the likes of a Fernandes? I mean, like
Yeah.
they have Leeds next week. Obviously, following their home match against Leeds at the end of 22, they have a second match against Leeds at the start of 23, and I don't think I want to get rid of any of my United assets for that, especially now that we heard today Leeds have sacked Jesse Marsch.
That's right.
You can confirm that, Paddy? Breaking news?
I can indeed. And you know yourself, the power of a new manager bounce. Look at what just happened to Arsenal with Sean Dyche in charge of Everton. So, you know,
Dice ball, baby.
Yeah, Dyche ball is back. And that is definitely something to consider.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like, I have, as I mentioned, kind of took a bit of a cheeky punt on Nanto. He could easily, turn into a Nketiah this week, or I could look at, as I mentioned, kind of turning Andres Pereira into a Saka. I have the funds in the bank, but my only concern is getting rid of a Fulham player ahead of that game week 25 fixture against, like, it's a pretty, like, a home to Wolves. I'm not expecting a rake of points out of it, but when your team is blanking, like, they're perfect fixtures. You're, like, more than happy. So yes. I'm a little concerned about jumping off of a Pereira when I could just turn my Leeds asset into an Arsenal striker. But I don't know. I just think 3-5-2 is the way to go, and I don't want to be investing a rake of money up front. Not when I'm looking to turn the likes of a Mitrovic into a Kane post game week 25.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? Just when you were talking there about some of your transfers, you've made me think I could turn Andreas into Odegaard, or I could change Weghorst to Nketiah. Yeah. What do you think is the better option?
I think based on what we were saying with your team, in the fact that you do have 3 Newcastle, 3 United, and a blanking Everton player, not blanking but an injured Everton player, I would be just focusing on the likes of Weghorst out, like as you said, kind of weaning off the players that are already blanking. Off
the players that, that's right.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you'll be delighted then come to game week 25 with Pereira sitting there. You'll be like, yep, I have that spot covered. Because, he's still, for his price this season, I think he's been a tremendous asset. I mean, it's rare that you get a 4.5 midfielder as consistently, that starts as consistently as Pereira and is on a rake of set plays and, the potential penalties and all that kind of stuff. They're a gift.
Well, then here's another one for you. What about Almiron to Odegaard instead of Nketiah to Weghorst to Nketiah?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be definitely more in favour of that than I would be of Pereira. As you said, like, Almiron's been kind of shipped out in droves at the moment anyway.
Yeah,
he does have a nice fixture this week against away to Bournemouth, which I'm hoping will have a few goals. Eddie Howe turning back up at his old haunting ground. But Liverpool then in game week 24. And a blank in 25, like, they're easy shifts,
Yeah. You see, that's why I love this podcast here. You see, it opens up parts of my FPL brain that sometimes stay dormant. And then when you just start chatting and flowing, other ideas pop up. And I'm sure it's the same for the millions and millions of listeners back at home.
It probably helps that you're sober this week, Paddy. Probably your first sober podcast. So synapses are firing all over your brain.
Well, it could work both ways. Sometimes, the beer opens up
you're right,
passageways as well,
Yeah, you're right. It opens up a lot of passageways for me.
Ah, yeah. Sure it does. I'm sure it does.
Yeah, but any other game talking points to 22 before we move on? I think, like, Mitoma, you hit the nail on the head. Like, that's one worth chatting about. I was very happy to see Ivan Toney blanking this week. I was afraid that every time I got a notification Brentford goal, I was like, here we go, and then it was just anyone but Tony. I think Mbuemo had quite a successful game week, but then the cherry on the cake is Ivan Toney's classic yellow card.
Oh, just brilliant.
Yeah.
I guess, like, I know we're not talking a lot about other teams here, like Chelsea's and Liverpool's and things like that. But that's because the way that the game weeks are going at the moment, we're focusing more on the teams that have doubles and blanks, isn't that right? and players that are going to be good value and things. Like at the minute as well, Liverpool are a mess.
Yeah,
An absolute mess. Like I see people that are still thinking about keeping Salah or even bringing him in. I don't know why. Maybe they're hoping that some kind of a miracle happens. Salah's ownership is so low right now, so if anything did happen, you might get boosted up. But I think that's just desperation at the minute, isn't it?
I'm 100% agree with you. I think it is. You know yourself. It's you depending on how your season is going. You can always be looking for that kind of cheeky left field punt, and it feels weird to describe Salah as a punt, but considering how poor Liverpool have been, I don't think he deserves much more than that at the moment. But on saying that, we know the kind of player he is, the kind of player he is, and the kind of FPL points he's capable of returning. So if Liverpool were to suddenly get a couple of double game weeks announced, which as far as I'm aware is a possibility, then all of a sudden they become, that KDB conversation turns into maybe KDB to Salah and blah, blah, blah. But I'm with you. Like, we're not talking about Chelsea. We're not talking about Liverpool. And yeah, largely in part to the fact that they don't have doubles and they don't have blanks. But they're also just on shocking runs of form. I mean, like, Chelsea essentially have a whole new team that needs to bed in.
Oh my God, yeah.
They started this week. Mudryk got another call. This is his first start, I think, was this week. I didn't see the Chelsea Fulham game, so I have no idea how they looked. But 0-0 at home to Fulham, not a great result if you're Chelsea, if you're asking me. They did start with their new transfer breaking fucking records, Enzo Fernandez. Yeah. So again, you need to see how they're bedding in, and they've been pretty poor this season as a whole anyway. So easy to hop on when the time is right, but I don't think it's something you need to be planning ahead. I mean, like, Chelsea have West Ham away in 23 and Southampton at home in 24. On paper, even if you go as far as 26, where they have Villa, on paper it's like 3 out of the next 4 fixtures. Or not Villa, but Leeds. 3 out of the next 4 fixtures, Southampton at home, Leeds at home. Like, they're fixtures you'd like to target if you
had any vote of confidence in them.
But I've none. I mean, sure. I've seen a few Mudryk floating around the place, and I'm like, yeah, I like the idea of taking a punt on
the Ukrainian Messi or the Ukrainian Neymar.
Neymar, yeah. I like the idea of it, but I'm also kind of, having my eye turned by so many players on form that I can't get in. Why would I look at players that are out of form?
Yeah, I want to get me some of that Brighton action. Never mind fucking Chelsea. You know what I mean? Team that's playing consistently well. Yeah. So
I think that's the main thing. Is like a lot of people are kind of looking at Brighton, going like, if they don't have him, they're thinking like, I want him, but that blank is there. And if they do have him, they're kind of laughing, especially if you have the likes of a Mitoma or a Dunk. But I think there's a few people that kind of zigged with a Solly March. This was before Mitoma kind of got his last 2 game returns. Right. They zigged when, obviously with hindsight, it was a zag, But I wouldn't be too harsh, and I know as soon as that blank gets out of the way, even if doubles kind of get announced before or after it, like, I'll be happy to kind of target for Brighton for the rest of the season in terms of they play that De Zerbi ball seems to be kicking in, they're getting shots. They're capable of keeping a clean sheet, and they're all cheap as chips. Simple as
that. 100%. Before we kind of wrap things up, because I think we've covered a lot here, Ger, where is your overall rank at the moment?
112k.
That is very good. And you have your bench boost, your free hit, and a wild card all in your arsenal.
Yeah, fully stocked.
Yeah, so there you go, guys. He's doing great. So subscribe to our podcast. Where can you find us?
Yeah, exactly. You too can be outside 100k.
You too can be outside.
There is some, fucking fantastic results around the place at the moment. I'm looking around going like I feel like my season's been going well, and I still am not.
Yeah, and you're usually better at this stage, though, aren't you? You usually be up in like inside 50k at least, or.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this stage, it's still early days, but, I mean, look, we'll see how that triple captainship turns out before the thing is over.
Yeah, right. Where are you aiming for? Where would you like to finish?
I think top 10k is always my target, and I don't think that's out of reach. I mean, I'd need to start slicing the ranks now a little bit, but sure, this week so far has gone well enough. I think I've cut like 40-50% off of what I was.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Yeah, that's good.
No, I mean, but it's so, you mentioned it off air when you were doing one of your Instagram plugs that there's 10-11 million players playing it this year. I mean, like, there's not just an increase in players, but there's also an increase in active players, players with like a ridiculous amount of knowledge that just wasn't available. I mean, I blame all these shitheads, probably you too, on Instagram.
Instadoc.
Yeah, sorry, work. That's a work thing breaking into my brain there. But Instagram and TikTok, that's the word I was looking for. Just spoon feeding fucking basic information to anyone that just wants to spend 3 minutes looking at a video. It's like, here you go. Here's the players to target, and here's the players to avoid. And you know what? Why not? Like, don't hate the player, hate the game. That's the way I look at it.
Well said.
And if FPL want to keep a fucking basic bitch version of a fantasy football game going, then that's up to them. Did you see the crack with last year's winner not being able to get tickets to... Not even last year's winner, the winner before last year.
It's 2 winners.
Yeah, it's
they
2
haven't
winners.
even got their prize, guys. So you imagine winning a game that has 11 million players, right? And your prize is what? Is fucking a stress ball and
and 10k. I think there's 10k in there.
And a game. You don't get 10k.
You think you do?
You get a trip to a football match or something, a package or something worth 10k, is it not?
I think you get 10k on top of that. I'm not now. Look, I've never really given.
Well, I don't think so, and I'm the guy that told you that you could use your triple captain and bench boost in the same game week. So who do you believe? So they still haven't. He's asked for a couple of games, but they've basically made it clear that he won't get a top 6 game. So he's hoping to get a Liverpool game. He actually said he might get a Liverpool game because they're on the way down.
You're right. You don't get 10k.
Yeah. I told you.
Sorry. I was mixing up. Was it Sky? I think Sky.
You're just full of shite, Ger.
I am sure. Who does a podcast that isn't full of shite?
Us. And yeah, by the way, just in case you're wondering what my rank is, it's 600k at the moment, and I'm happy enough. I think I'll finish where I want to finish.
Yeah. Where do you want to finish?
Top 10.
Top 10. Top 10.
Top 10. Yeah.
Not top 10k. Top 10.
No, top 10.
Yeah, you heard me right the first time. Top 10. Exactly. I have nothing but faith in you. But maybe there are a bunch of people that have a slightly better chance, Paddy, which is a lovely segue into the FPL Hangover Mini League.
Wowza.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a couple of weeks. And I know it's mid-game week, and I'm not a massive fan of going through the Mini League in the middle of a game session, but like, I think, to be honest, I think a lot of what's left, with the exception of those who've maybe triple captained Rashford versus those who just captained him, I would be surprised if there's too much variation in ranks between that and the end of the game week. So with that in mind, Paddy, am I putting you on a spot to ask you to call out the top 10? Or?
Well, no, I can call out the top 10. I have it right here. So we have a new league leader, but do we have a new league leader? The game week's not finished. But anyway, we do at the moment. And that is Craig Raynar, Shopska Salah. We also have Emil Siedlik, the Invincibles, in second place. At 1 point between them, we have Richard Weghinger Kraft in third. We have Harry Jones in fourth. We have Paul Ryan in fifth. We have Claude Tuar in sixth. We have Mario Greco in 7th. We have 80 Friel in 8th. Paul O'Gorman in 9th. And Tony McBride, a neighbour of my own down the road there. Tony McBride in 10th. Isn't it just amazing to see the different the nationalities in that league and the listeners that we have here on the podcast? Like, it's just always blows my mind. You know what I mean?
You'd be surprised. What percentage of our listeners do you think are Irish?
I don't know. Okay. 50%.
20.
20.
The rest are all foreign. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's like 20. I think like Ireland and England make up about 40-50%. But like, there is a massive global kind of following, which just surprises me. You know, I mean, it fits into what you were saying.
Very good. So there you go. Worldwide, baby. Worldwide.
Yeah, prestige worldwide.
So anyway, well done to the mini league participants, and they could be one of those lucky winners. Could be on the way to winning what, Ger?
An FPL Hangover customized hip flask.
Wow.
Yeah, if we ever send out the prizes, we're just doing the fancy. We're here criticizing fancy Premier League, and I still have a bunch of shit I need to send.
You're a fucking hypocrite.
I'm a hypocrite.
But you're the guy that does dry January and doesn't even fucking do it. Like,
I'm the guy that does what most people do, and that's quit.
well, yeah, at least you're true to your word.
Yeah.
So anyway, before we actually do go, who's the captain for Game Week 22?
And it was dry October, just to clarify. I didn't do dry January. That's too mainstream.
Fuck.
But what were you saying? Who's the captain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Game Week 22. Because, I mean, like, there's Chelsea, or I mean, there's City and...
There's a bit of a debate. I think especially after Arsenal, or after City dropping points at Spurs yesterday. Yeah, there's a bit of a debate. I don't think it's as heavy as it should be. I think it falls into that realm of overthinking, like we were speaking, but I could understand why someone might be looking at Arsenal ahead of City right now. For me, not the case. Haaland, all day long.
Yeah.
Home fixture against... Is it home against Villa?
Yeah, they're playing each other, right? So then you have that
Yeah.
you have the next little fixture, and that's the decider for me. Not even it's the decider for me because Haaland's just a beast, but I would reckon playing Aston Villa would be a little bit easier than playing Brentford.
Yeah.
And City are playing Aston Villa, and Arsenal are playing Brentford.
Yeah, I don't know. If you asked me before Villa just got smashed by Leicester this week, I might have been leaning the other way, just because I know Emery is capable of tightening up a team against another top side. It's kind of what his shtick has been.
Mm-hmm.
From my limited kind of exposure to him. That's always how I associate him. But yeah, they did get their arses absolutely spanked against Leicester at the weekend. So now I do fear that City will do the same thing, especially if they're as pissy as they should be after that Spurs match. I'm worried. Like, we didn't talk about the breaking news that City...
Oh yeah, are getting thrown out of the league.
Yeah, they're going to get expunged from...
So that's another team blanking and for the rest 25. For the rest of the season.
Yeah, oh, I'd love it. Imagine the fucking chaos that would cause.
Oh my god. So look, basically, anyway, if anyone doesn't include up, City have been done for breaching financial fair play. They've also been, I think they're being done for like fraud or tax evasion because they're being found out to have been paying players and maybe managers under the table. A little, how's your uncle? Who's your daddy?
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, it's not like the financial fair play where last time it was like, oh, there's a slap on the wrist and there's a fine, blah, blah, blah. It's going away. It can't actually go away now because it's criminal.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is? So I'd be very surprised if some real serious sanctions aren't done. Now, we could see the season play out completely normal and maybe then they get a ban in Europe and they get a fine and they get relegated and United get that cup from the Premier League for Mourinho in 2011-12 season. But you know,
if you pile all that on top of their, recent comments from Pep in terms of a lack of motivation and just it feels like there may be a little bit of unrest in the dressing room. I mean, I try not to read too much into that shit, but there might be. You have Cancelo's untimely exit and, like as I said, kind of a drop off in form. They're not winning the fucking league, and then you put all this shit on top of them.
Collapse.
It's a rough one, but I think for home to Villa and away to Arsenal versus home to Brentford and home to City, I still am leaning on the big Nordic meatbag.
Oh, 100%. Like he's not stressing. He's still waking up to his...
Although, did you see him yesterday? Did you watch the Spurs match?
No, I didn't see anything because I was over in Old Trafford or Manchester. What happened?
He spent most of the match just fucking whinging. Like, he was just talking to himself, like, kind of shaking his head. Anytime now, obviously you don't know if the cameras are deliberately showing you the bits where he's nodding his head or if it's just a coincidence, but like anytime I saw him, whether he was walking off the pitch or whether he was fucking still in the middle of play, he was shaking his head just bitching. And again, the narrative that's kind of seems to be floating around the place is like, they're just not feeding him the balls. At least that's the impression that you'd be given watching the match. So, I think if someone could make the case that it's not worth it, but I think they're really pushing their luck with reality and fantasy there.
Yeah. Okay. So say now that we weren't to go with Haaland captain, which is the best Arsenal asset? Because we're not looking at players that aren't having a double game week. So which Arsenal asset would be the best? There's probably 4 choices, but they're only, like Nketiah, Odegaard, Saka, or Martinelli.
I think if I was to look at putting the captain's armband on an Arsenal asset for game week 23, it would be Saka. I know Odegaard's been tearing it up. We've already spoken about Martinelli. And I think there's a mild risk of Nketiah and the Jesus return, but I still wouldn't be letting that bother me in terms of transferring him in, because he's not that difficult to transfer out. But in terms of the captaincy, Saka being on pens is just a game changer.
Okay, there you go. That's it then. Well, there you have it. Huh?
Yeah.
And one last thing before we go, because like I just have to bring up Klopp. Just as just normal chat here now. What has happened to Klopp? He used to be. I mean, I used to kind of like him, but now he's just turned into this like a monster.
I mean, I'm the same as you. I still kind of like him, so it hasn't changed. But he has become very, very testy and aggressive. Yeah,
very aggressive. He's very, very, very aggressive. Did you see what he said about the Wolves game? That he's not counting the third goal?
No. Why? What was?
Oh yeah, he came out and said, "Oh, we're not, we're not kidding. We're not counting the third goal."
Why?
So like. He said it was some foul or something in the ball. But I can't remember. Don't quote me on it. But
that's like something we'd say when we were in primary school and someone.
Yeah, he says I'm not counting the third goal. So then some funny fucker, of course, on Twitter just quote tweeted, "Fine, we beat you 2-0 then." It was a Wolves fan, like. So I mean, especially with Klopp with all his excuses every week, there's an actual thread of every one of his excuses just for him to come out and say that. Like, it's just. It's hilarious.
I mean, like, there is a little bit of me that feels bad for Liverpool fans, little bit, because my father is a Liverpool fan, and it was nice getting him when Liverpool were going through all that fucking Champions League and one title. It was kind of nice to see all of these patients being rewarded over the last my whole life, essentially 3 decades, and it was like, oh look, there you go, and now that it just seems like it was a blip, like it's like, I don't know, they're just reverting back to.
No, but I hear you with that. Like, that you would be happy for some people. Like, my father-in-law is a Liverpool fan, and I thought I would be happy for him. But then when United were going through that bad patch, I would hear the front door open, and before I'd see him, all I'd hear is this fake laugh, coming in. So I'm like, you know what? I'm glad he's on the declining.
It's just a circle of violence.
I know, but that's what keeps it all fun and games, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it is. I mean, but I think it was United's decline that made me a little bit more kind of sympathetic to. I was like, you know what, we had our time in the sun, and maybe
that's what we were saying, so we could sleep at night.
Yeah, but luckily.
But now we've got the sunglasses back on. The light is blinding again.
Yeah. Quadruple is still on.
Oh, it's still on. It's on. Oh, we better go off before we start fucking losing listeners.
We will. All right, we'll wrap it up there, folks. Paddy, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at the Viking Dippers on Instagram. You can find me at FPL Viking _ on Twitter, and you can find me at the Cafe Fella on TikTok.
Oh, another new fucking.
Oh, I'm fucking loving this one.
Oh my god, there's no shade that can hold your light, Paddy. Do you know that? There's no bushel that you can bury your light under.
Oh god.
Yeah, if you want to reach.
And where can we? Go on. Sorry.
No, Paddy, it's fine. Not like a complete lack of professionalism to end the show.
I was going to fucking say, and now where can we find the pod, Ger? And you fucking, you went on because I felt bad.
I did. Yeah, look at you with your fucking tooth fucking flosser in your mouth, like Clint Eastwood over here. How long have you been doing that? The whole show?
Yeah, the whole show.
For fuck's sake.
Multitasking, Ger, multitasking.
I thought that was for women. I thought we weren't able to do that. Anyway, if you do want to reach out...
Good save.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm just going to pull that one right back. If you do want to reach out, you can find us on Twitter at FPL Hangover, and you can send us an email to the address fplhangover@gmail.com. As I said at the top of the show, we obviously try to get an episode out once a week, as we have done for 4 fucking years. But at the moment, there's just that little bit of a kind of a hill that we need to try and dig through. We need to build some kind of tunnel through it and figure it out. But we will look to be back same time, same channel next week and get as consistent as we can. If that's not good enough for you, fuck off. And if you do really want to reach out to us on a week where maybe we haven't thrown out a release, feel free to DM us, email us. We'll always pick up and do what we can to help. But yeah, with all that in mind, I would like to thank everyone for joining us this evening. And most importantly, God bless.
And review, like the pod. Thank you very much. It helps.
Totally saved me there, Paddy. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, review, like, subscribe, the usual shit. Cheers, Paddy. Yeah. I'll chat to you next week. Good luck.
Good luck.